Thursday, and I was so sick. I thought a lot about death. I really did. And so I'm really glad to get this started and to go, because this is a very profound Gosho. Like I just said a little bit to you guys, this one kind of bothers me though, because it always reminds me of what again, when I get to it, you'll know what I'm talking about. But it's sort of like it's there. This is sort of I read this Gosho like it was written to me, like I told you. Okay, so it's personal. It's personal. It's a personal admonition from my eternal mentor. Okay, to me to watch my behavior as a human being. Okay, because it's real easy for us to be good people and still do things that really are not reflective of that. Okay, and so we're supposed to all be trying to get closer to the ideal in order to be a representative example to others, and also for the purpose of eradicating our own karma. That's really the point. Okay, so I'll start again, like I always do, with the background. The background's on page 582 of Volume 1. The Gosho is the 3 kinds of treasure. The lecture will be from Teachings for Victory, Volume 1. It's the last Gosho in here. The 3 kinds of treasure, starting with the background. Okay, background from 852. This letter was written at Minobu in the 9th month of 1277 and addressed to Shijo Nakatatsaku Severo Seiman Yoritomo, commonly known as Shijo Kingo. In Kamakura, sometime around 1274, Shijo Kingo had begun making efforts to convert his lord, who, let me start over. This letter was written at Minobu in the 9th month of 1277 and addressed to Shijo Nakatsukasa, so hard for me to say, Saburo Seiman no Jo Yorimoto, commonly known as Shijo Kingo, in Kamakura. Sometime around 1274, Shijo Kingo had begun making efforts to convert his lord, who was named Emma, to the Daishonin's teachings. Lord Emma, however, did not respond positively. Instead, he reduced the size of Kingo's land holdings and threatened to send him to the remote province of Echigo. Kingo's colleagues spread scurrilous reports about him, and Kingo was accused of fomenting trouble at a debate in the 6th month of 1277, during which the Tendai priest Ryuzobo was bested by the Daishonin's disciple Samibo. There's also all kinds of Goshos about this. I think you know that. Nichiren Daishonin cautions Shijo Kingo and instructs him on the best course of behavior in trying circumstances. Later that year, Lord Emma fell ill, and Kingo, applying his medical skills, helped cure him. The Lord was most grateful, and in 1278 restored and later even increased Kingo's land holdings. At the outset of this letter, the Daishonin tells Kingo that he should remember his debt of gratitude to his Lord, and stresses the Buddhist teaching that fundamental changes within oneself inevitably result in changes in the environment. He mentions that when he was about to be executed at Tasanakuchi, Kingo vowed to die by his side. Now Kingo is undergoing a severe ordeal, and the Daishonin is exerting all his powers to protect him. The Daishonin says that since Kingo was fortunate enough to have been born human and encountered the true teaching, he should accumulate the treasures of the heart and win the respect of others. Finally, through historical references to Emperor Shushun and others, the Daishonin teaches Kingo that as a Buddhist, he should conduct his daily life admirably and be considerate of others. Okay, so we'll go back to the beginning of the Gosho, and now, before we start the Gosho, I just want to say that tonight I'm dedicating this to my wonderful wife. Okay, you'll know when we get to that part here. Okay, so here we go. From page 848, the 3 kinds of treasures. My mouth's dry. I have received various articles from your messenger, including a white quilted robe and strings of coins, and the goods mentioned in Toki's letter. The persimmons, pears, and fresh dried seaweed are particularly welcome. I am most grieved over your Lord's illness. Now you guys listen carefully, because these are the important parts. I am most grieved over your Lord's illness. Although he has not professed faith in the Lotus Sutra, you are a member of his clan, and it is thanks to his consideration that you are able to make offerings to this sutra. He's talking about the offerings that you just gave me. He goes, thus these may become prayers solely for your Lord's recovery. What he's done for you that's passed on to me, he gains fortune from that. Think of a small tree under a large one, or grass by a great river. Though they do not receive rain or water directly, they nonetheless thrive, partaking of dew from the large tree or drawing moisture from the river. The same holds true with the relationship between you and your Lord. To give another example, King Ajatasattu was an enemy of the Buddha, but because Jivaka, a minister in the king's court, believed in the Buddha and continually made offerings to him, the blessings accruing from his actions are said to have returned to Ajatasattu. Buddhism teaches that when the Buddha nature manifests itself from within, it will receive protection from without. From without means external influences that accommodate your needs, right? This is one of its fundamental principles. The Lotus Sutra says, I have profound reverence for you. That's from obviously the Never Disparaging chapter. The Nirvana Sutra states, all living beings alike possess the Buddha nature. That's why we should never discern any difference between us and any other human being. Bodhisattva Ashvaghosha's awakening of faith in the Mahayana says, because the true abiding law invariably permeates one's life and exerts its influence, illusions are instantly extinguished and the Dharma body manifests itself. Bodhisattva Maitreya's treatise on the stages of yoga practice contains a similar statement. What is hidden turns into manifest virtue. The heavenly devil knew about this from before, and he therefore possessed your colleagues, causing them to invent that preposterous lie in order to prevent you from making offerings to the Lotus Sutra. Since your faith is profound, however, the 10 demon daughters must have come to your aid and caused your Lord's illness. He does not regard you as his enemy, but since he once acted against you by giving credit to the false accusations of your colleagues, he has become seriously ill and the malady persists. Ryuzobo, whom these people count on as their pillar of strength, has already been toppled, and those who spoke falsely of you have contracted the same disease as your Lord. Because Ryokan is guilty of a much graver offense, it is more likely that he will meet with or cause a bad accident. Surely he will not escape unharmed. As things stand now, I have a feeling, going on to page 849, I have a feeling you are in danger. Your enemies are sure to make an attempt on your life. In backgammon, if 2 stones of the same color are placed side by side, they cannot be hit by an opposing stone. Everybody understands what that analogy about backgammon? You ever play backgammon? When you can get 2 of your stones on top of each other, they can't be taken, right? So he's trying to talk about the fact that, Shija, even though you're a solitary kind of a dude, you need to open your space to others, because by bringing them in and having appreciation for them and respecting them, you will be actually giving protection to your own life in that process. That's what he's explaining. He says, your enemies are sure to make an attempt on your life. In backgammon, if 2 stones of the same color are placed side by side, they cannot be hit by an opposing stone. A cart, as long as it has 2 wheels, does not lurch all over the road. Likewise, if 2 men go together, an enemy hesitates to attack. Therefore, no matter what faults you may find with your younger brothers, do not let them leave you alone even for a moment. Your face bears definite signs of a hot temper. Sorry, Mom. But you should know that the heavenly gods will not protect a short-tempered person, however important they may think he or she is. If you should be killed, even though you might attain Buddhahood. So he's not saying, this is not, he didn't say that you're not going to attain Buddhahood. He's talking about protection. Okay? He's talking about you staying in this world. All right? He says, if you should be killed, even though you might attain Buddhahood, your enemies would be delighted, and we would feel only grief. This would indeed be regrettable. While your foes busy themselves plotting against you, your Lord places greater confidence in you than before. Therefore, although they appear to have quieted down, inwardly they are no doubt seething with hate. So you should at times behave unobtrusively in their presence. Pay greater respect to the other retainers of the clan than you have in the past. So what's that tell you? Shijo Kingo is a mighty warrior. Okay, he's probably got a little bit of attitude. Okay, he's probably got a little bit of swag that is not deferential to others. Okay, that's what he just said. Let me repeat that part again. While your foes busy themselves plotting against you, your Lord places even greater confidence in you than before. Therefore, although they appear to have quieted down, don't look at the way things seem to be. Inwardly, they are no doubt seething with hate. So you should at times behave unobtrusively in their presence. Pay greater respect to the other retainers of the clan than you have in the past. For the time being, when the sons of members of the Hojo clan are visiting your Lord, refrain from calling on him, even if he should summon you. If the worst should happen and your Lord should die, your enemies would become masterless and would have nowhere to turn, though they do not seem to consider that fact. Unreasoning as they are, when they see you report to work more and more frequently, their hearts are bound to be fired with jealousy and their breath to come in pants. If those sons of the Hojo clan or the wives of those in power should inquire about your Lord's illness, no matter who the person may be, get down on your knees, place your hands properly, and reply thus: his malady is entirely beyond my poor skill to cure. But no matter how often I decline, he insists that I treat him. Since I am in his service, I cannot help but to do as he says. Leave your side locks uncombed, and refrain from wearing well-starched court dress, bright quilted robes, or other colorful clothing. Don't be looking all good and hot, because that's just going to make people, again, more jealous and resent you, right? He's saying, be patient. Act like this isn't even something that you want to be doing, right? Be patient and continue in this way for the time being. Probably you are well aware of it, but let me cite the Buddha's predictions about what the latter age will be like. In essence, he states, it will be a muddied age in which even sages will find it difficult to live. They will be like stones in a great fire, which for a while seem to endure the heat, but finally char and crumble into ashes. Worthy persons will advocate the 5 constant virtues, but they themselves will find it hard to practice them. Thus, the saying goes, do not remain in the seat of honor too long. Many people have plotted to undo you, but you have avoided their intrigues and emerged victorious. Should you lose your composure now and fall into their trap, you will be, as people say, like a boatman who rows his boat with all his might, only to have it capsize just before he reaches the shore, or like a person who is served no hot water at the end of his meal. While you are in your Lord's residence, if you stay in the room assigned to you, nothing will happen. But on your way to work at dawn or returning from it at dusk, your enemies are bound to be lying in wait for you. Also, be very careful in and around your house in case someone should be hiding beside the double doors, inside the family sanctuary, under the floor, or in the space above the ceiling. This time your foes will use even more cunning in their plots than before. In the end, no one will be more deplorable. In the end, no one will be more dependable in an emergency than the night watchman of Egara in Kamakura. However disagreeable it may be to you, you should associate with them amicably. So now these are obviously people that he would kind of like think a little, you're not up to my level, right? So he would behave with a little bit of an air around them. He's saying, now, hug them, get to know them, make them your bros. He says, Yoshitsune found it utterly impossible to defeat the Hieke until he won Shigeyoshi over to his side, and in that way vanquished the rival clan. The shogun Minamoto no Yorimoto sought to take revenge on Osada for his father's death, but he would not behead the murderer until after he had conquered the Hieke. It is even more vital for you to ally yourself with the 4 night watchmen. It is even more vital for you to ally yourself with the 4 night watchmen. The dwellings they had earned by risking their lives were confiscated by their lord because of the Lotus Sutra. That means they started chanting Daimoku. All right? And so when Lord Emma went down on Shijo Kingo, he went down on them as well. They suffered the consequence of actually losing their land, their place to be. And more directly because of Nichiren. Okay? So let me say it again. It is even more vital for you to ally yourself with the 4 night watchmen. The dwellings they had earned by risking their lives as samurai were confiscated by their lord because of the Lotus Sutra, and more directly because of Nichiren, because I taught them Nam-myoho Renge-kyo through you. Be considerate of those who believe in Nichiren and the Lotus Sutra, no matter what they may have done in the past. So again, I'll say that sentence again. Be considerate of those who believe in Nichiren and the Lotus Sutra, no matter what they may have done in the past. Moreover, if they frequent your house, your enemies will be afraid to attack you at night. It is not as if they were trying to avenge their father's murder. Certainly, they do not want their plot to come out into the open. Against those who seek to avoid the eyes of others, there are no warriors as dependable as they are, those night watchmen. Always maintain friendly relationships with them. Friendly relations with them. But here he goes again. But since you are hot-tempered by nature, you might not take my advice. In that case, it will be beyond the powers of my prayers to save you. Ruzobo and your elder brother plotted evil against you. Therefore, the heavenly God so contrived it that the situation would develop exactly as you wished. Then how can you now dare to go against the wish of the heavenly gods? Even if you had accumulated 1,000 or 10,000 treasures, of what use would they be if your Lord should forsake you? He already looks to you as if you were his own parent, following you as water follows the shape of its container, longing for you as a calf longs for its mother, and relying on you as an elderly person relies on his staff. Is not his regard for you due to the aid of the Lotus Sutra? How envious your fellow retainers must be. You must hurry and talk with these 4 men and report to me how the matter goes. Then I will fervently pray to the heavenly gods for your protection. I have already informed them of how deeply you grieve over your deceased father and mother. They will surely receive the utmost consideration in the presence of Shakyamuni Buddha. Over and over, I recall the moment unforgettable, even now, when I was about to be beheaded, and you accompanied me, holding the reins of my horse and weeping tears of grief. Nor could I forget it in any lifetime to come. Because again, Was he just there to cry for Nichiren? No, he was there to die with Nichiren. Please understand that. He willingly rushed to the situation and said, if you go, I go, and accompanied Nichiren to Tatsunokuchi. So let me start over so you understand the significance of what he just said. So that Daishonin is saying, from my heart, I can never forget yours. Over and over, I recall the moment, unforgettable even now, when I was about to be beheaded and you accompanied me, holding the reins of my horse and weeping tears of grief. Nor could I forget it in any lifetime to come. If you should fall into hell for some grave offense, no matter how Shakyamuni Buddha might urge me to become a Buddha, I would refuse. I would rather go to hell with you. For if you and I fall into hell together, we would find Shakyamuni Buddha and the Lotus Sutra there. It would be as if the moon were illuminating the darkness, as if the cold water were pouring into hot, as if fire were melting ice, or as if the sun were dispelling the darkness. But if you should depart from my advice even slightly, do not blame me for what may happen. The plague that is raging at present will, as you predict, strike those in the higher ranks of society at the turn of the year. This is perhaps the design of the 10 demon daughters. For the time being, stay calm and observe how things develop. And do not go around lamenting to others how hard it is for you to live in this world. To do so is an act utterly unbecoming to a worthy man. So when we go through these great obstacles, don't go around, shirt sleeve sobbing people telling them how tough it is. Okay? As bodhisattvas of the earth, we're supposed to suck it all up, always, and have faith that we're in a process of resolution. To not express that confidently is to disgrace the Lotus Sutra. So, and do not go around lamenting to others how hard it is for you to live in this world. To do so is an act utterly unbecoming to a worthy man. If a man behaves in this way, then after he dies, his wife, overcome with sorrow at losing her husband, will tell other people about the shameful things he did, though she had no real intention of doing so. And that will in no way be her fault, but solely the result of his own reprehensible behavior. It is rare to be born a human being. The number of those endowed with human life is as small as the amount of earth one can place on a fingernail. Life as a human being is hard to sustain, as hard as it is for the dew to remain on the grass. But it is better to live a single day with honor, to live correctly, than to live to 120 and die in disgrace. Live so that all the people of Kamakura will stay in praise that Nakatsukasa Saburo Seimenojo is diligent in the service of his Lord, in the service of Buddhism, and in his concern for other people. More valuable than treasures in the storehouse are the treasures of the body, and the treasures of the heart are the most valuable of all. From the time you read this letter on, strive to accumulate treasures of the heart. I would like to relate an incident that is customarily kept secret. In the history of Japan, there have been 2 emperors that were assassinated. One of them was Emperor Shushun. He was a son of Emperor Kime and an uncle of Prince Shotoku. One day, during his reign in the 33rd sovereign, he summoned Prince Shotoku and said, We hear that you are a man of sacred wisdom. Examine our physiognomy and tell us what you see there. In other words, our physical features. Foretell our future by seeing the signs. The prince declined 3 times, but the emperor insisted that he obey the imperial command. Finally, no longer able to refuse, the prince reverently examined Shushun's physiognomy and reported, "Your Majesty's countenance indicates that you will be assassinated." The emperor's complexion changed color. What evidence do you have to support such a contention?" he asked. The prince replied, "I see red veins running over your eyes. This is a sign that you will incur the enmity of others." Thereupon the emperor asked, "How can we escape this fate?" The prince said, "It is difficult to evade, but there are soldiers known as the 5 constant virtues. As long as you keep these warriors on your side, you will be safe from danger." In the Buddhist scriptures, these soldiers are referred to as the practice of forbearance. So he's actually talking about his behavior, not soldiers, right? One of the 6 paramitas. For some time after that, Emperor Shushun faithfully observed the practice of forbearance. But being irascible by nature, he violated the precept one day when one of his subjects presented him with a young wild boar. He withdrew the metal rod that was attached to his sword scabbard and stabbed the boar in the eyes with it, saying, "One of these days, this is what we will do to that fellow we hate." Prince Shotoku, who happened to be present, exclaimed, "Ah, what a fearful thing to do! Your Majesty will surely arouse the enmity of others. With these very words you have spoken with the sword, these very words you have spoken will be the sword that wounds you." The prince then ordered articles of value to be brought out and divided among those who had heard the emperor's remark, hoping to buy their silence. One of them, however, told the great minister Soga no Umako about the episode. Umako, believing that he was the one the emperor hated, won over Taigoma, the son of Azu Manoaya no Itai Iwai, and had him kill the emperor. So somebody in his inner circle, a retainer, actually is the one that assassinated him. Even a ruler on the throne must take care not to give unreserved expression to his thoughts. The worthy man Confucius held to his belief 9 thoughts to 1 word, which means that he reconsidered 9 times before he spoke. Tan, the Duke of Chao, was so earnest in receiving callers that he would wring out his hair 3 times in the course of washing it, or spit out his food 3 times in the course of a meal, in order not to keep them waiting. Consider this carefully so that you have no cause to reproach me later. What is called Buddhism is found in this behavior. The heart of the Buddha's lifetime of teachings is the Lotus Sutra, and the heart of the practice of the Lotus Sutra is found in the Never Disparaging chapter. What does the Never Disparaging what does Bodhisattva Never Disparaging's profound respect for people signify? The purpose of the appearance in this world of Shakyamuni Buddha, the Lord of Teachings, lies in his behavior as a human being. Respectfully, the wise may be called human, but the thoughtless are no more than animals. Nichiren, the 11th day of the 9th month of the 3rd year of Kenji, 1277, cyclical sign, Hi no to Ushi. Reply to Shijo Samanejo so. And so we go to the Gosho. Okay, starting from, we won't read since we just read the whole Gosho. We won't read page 159 and 160. We'll go right into 161. It's a short first section, so I shouldn't be way over time. Everybody please pay a lot of attention. Page 161, lecture. Buddhism manifests in one's behavior. The law is invisible to the eye, but it can be discerned in the conduct of those who correctly practice the Buddhist teachings. This is because their actions exemplify the great merit of the law. So if their actions don't, then probably they're not living the law with their life. They're just saying words. They're going through the motions. In this respect, it is essential that SGI leaders actively go out and meet with people, engage in one-to-one dialogue with them, share in their joys and sorrows, and work and move forward together with them. Leaders not only need to offer inspiring encouragement and give people courage to challenge problems and hardships, they must also stand up to error and injustice themselves while warmly protecting and guiding and caring for everyone. Buddhism does not exist apart from such committed action on the part of real living human beings. A person who prays more than anyone else and works harder than anyone else to propagate the mystic law is a genuine leader in Buddhism. Buddha is another name for someone of such dedicated action. As long as there are efforts by devoted individuals to help others attain enlightenment, Buddhism will eternally shine as a living religion. If, on the other hand, such efforts were to disappear, Buddhism would become a dead religion, pallid and lifeless. Shakyamuni and Nichiren Daishonin each left behind an exemplary model of behavior as individuals committed to leading others to enlightenment. They continually went among the people and engaged in dialogue to awaken the innate Buddha nature within each person. Of course, human behavior takes numerous forms, and it also reflects the 10 worlds, the life state from hell to Buddhahood. The human behavior that is the focus of my discussion here, however, specifically refers to the highest behavior or humanistic conduct that reflects the life state of Buddhahood and thus shows respect for all people. It also encompasses all efforts directed toward positive personal growth and to the happiness of both oneself and others in the actual realm of the 9 worlds. Okay, so it can't be Buddha theoretically. It's about living your life that way. That's why President Kate is the mentor. And especially in terms of respectful conduct aimed at awakening people to their Buddha nature. It refers to the behavior of Bodhisattva never disparaging. From the sutras, that's the example. It also indicates the behavior in his efforts to battle evil and promote good for the happiness of all people. This is the exact same behavior of each of us in the SGI, the Bodhisattvas of the earth, making efforts for Kosen Rufu. Buddhism shines the spotlight on individuals who, just as the Buddha does, show through their actions unceasing respect for people. For the next 3 installments, we will study the 3 kinds of treasure. In this letter addressed to Shijo Kingo, dated September 1277, Nichiren teaches his loyal disciple the importance of being a person of wisdom and how crucial one's behavior can be in a time of adversity. How should we correctly conduct ourselves as Buddhists? How can we take strong, wise action to break through any hardship? Nichiren answers these questions, explaining the essential way of life for Buddhist practitioners. So this is an important teaching for us to take to heart and engrave in our hearts, guys. Okay, top of page 162. Let us deeply internalize the Daishonin's guidance on how to live with wisdom, using it as a source of inspiration for our own victory in life and in our efforts for Kosen Rufu, for others. Sincerity and integrity are the springboard of overcoming adversity. Sincerity and integrity. I have received various articles from this is from the Gosho. I have received various articles from your messenger, including a white quilted robe and a string of coins, and the goods mentioned in Toki's letter. The persimmons, pears, and fresh and dried seaweed are particularly welcome. Shijo Kingo had been undergoing severe hardships. Shijo Kingo had been undergoing severe hardships. In an earlier letter, Nichiren Daishonin quoted him as saying that great hardships had showered down on him like rain. Kingo had, the difficulty of sustaining faith, WND 1. 3 years prior, in 1274, Kingo had tried to convert his lord Emma Mitsu Toki to the Daishonin's teaching, but this only resulted in Emma marginalizing Kingo. From that time on, spiteful fellow retainers had falsely accused, From that time on, spiteful fellow retainers spread false accusations about Kingo and tarnished his good name. Attempts were even made on Kingo's life. Emma's disfavor also continued, causing tremendous hardship for Kingo and his family. This hardship took various forms, most conspicuously being ordered to relinquish his existing fief and accept a smaller one. Throughout his struggles, Kingo faithfully followed Nichiren's detailed guidance and tenaciously persevered in his Buddhist practice. He did not, however, give up his fief at that moment. Then, as a consequence of spurious accusations leveled against him in connection with an alleged incident at the Kuwagayatsu debate of June 1277, Kingo suddenly found himself in danger of having all his lands confiscated. Emma pressed him to recant his faith in the Lotus Sutra or else be stripped of his fief. But Kingo chose faith without the slightest hesitation or doubt. He immediately sent a pledge to this effect to Nichiren, and the swift reply he received contained the famous lines, "This life is like a dream. One cannot be sure that one will live until tomorrow. However wretched a beggar you might become, never disgrace the Lotus Sutra." Now that's a line that I say to myself constantly. It's really, I know how important it is that I not disgrace the law, because I'm doing this in a fashion that it's not just, held to 10 people here. He goes, another consistent piece of advice Nichiren gave Shijo Kingo was not to be fawning or servile. So I'm not fawning or servile in doing what I'm doing because of the direct guidance of this Gosho, frankly. Servility is tantamount to destroying one's own dignity or self-esteem. Even worse, behaving in a cowardly or servile manner towards devilish functions will prevent one's Buddhahood from shining forth. Everybody's with me in the point that I'm making, right? Yeah. Okay, so we must firmly stand up to devilish functions that bring misery to people. How do we do that? I mean, in other words, how do our devilish functions, we must firmly stand up to devilish functions that bring misery to people. He's talking about the devilish functions that attack us, also attack everybody else. It's the same fundamental darkness. Okay? So the way that we stand up to them, by standing up to them, we help eliminate the misery for others because they have somebody that's a real person that has lived through it and is showing them a way to be behaving in a circumstance that will overcome them. When confronted by people of dignity and integrity, devilish functions will always make a fast retreat. This is just like foxes fleeing when they hear the mighty roar of the Lion King, or like the darkness vanishing the instant the sun comes out. Let us live, President Ikeda says. This is, again, coming from my heart. Let us live with unshakable confidence and pride, and without the least servility. The Daishonin repeatedly teaches his followers that this is where the true brilliance of human dignity is to be found. You got to try to live like your Nichiren Daishonin. You got to live like your Shijo Kingo. Okay? You got to live like your Daisaku Ikeda. There's no separation between any of them and you. There's no difference between Shakyamuni Buddha and any of you. All right? What is admirable about Shijo Kingo is how he always sought Nichiren's guidance and then followed it unerringly. That's mentor-disciple. Because he strove in a spirit of the oneness with his mentor, he could triumph magnificently over all obstacles. The mentor-disciple relationship is the driving force for victory in life and in Kosen Rufu. This is an eternally unchanging principle of Buddhism. So this way to behave, this way to get there, to get to the 10th world, to bring it forth, it doesn't change. All Buddhists have had mentors. Read everything. If you read everything, you're going to find all of them have. All of them have. When Shijo Kingo, because even the original Buddha had the law as his mentor. Okay? That's the point. When Shijo Kingo faithfully put his mentor's instructions into practice, When Shijo Kingo faithfully put his mentor's instructions into practice, profoundly determined never to disgrace the Lotus Sutra, or behaved servilely, his situation changed dramatically. It happened that Emma became seriously ill, and Kingo, who was knowledgeable in medicine, was called on to treat him. He was thus presented with a great opportunity to win back his lord's trust. This was only a few months after the threat of having his fiefs confiscated. But the outcome of this chance to improve his relationship with his lord was still very uncertain, and Kingo's trying circumstance remained unchanged with no immediate resolution in sight. He still faced hostility from fellow retainers, as well as continuing discord from his brothers, because this kind of behavior will bring out that hatred and jealousy that the Daishonin repeats from the Lotus Sutra over and over and over again. He still faced hostility from fellow retainers, as well as continuing discord with his brothers. Meanwhile, the underhanded scheming of Ryokan of Gorakuji Temple, a temple in Kamakura, and others aimed at discrediting Kingo also continued unabated. Yet precisely because of significant developments taking shape, including glimmering of a positive turnaround, it was crucial that Shijo Kingo not grow overconfident or negligent. He had to bring forth wisdom rather than cockiness. Do you understand? Great confidence doesn't have to be expressed in that way. All right? He says he would need to proceed carefully and cautiously toward resolving the situation. You bring forth wisdom. That strength is an inner strength. It was imperative that he pay even greater attention to the people and things around him and secure victory through his wise behavior. This is the concrete guidance that the Daishonin offers Shijo Kingo in this letter, advising him in detail on how to view and challenge the situation confronting him. This letter begins with the Daishonin expressing his appreciation for the offerings he had received. From his passage, we see that Shijo Kingo had sent a sizable parcel of sincere offerings, along with a letter entrusted to his care by fellow practitioner Toki Jonin. No doubt, concern for Nichiren's well-being in the remote mountains of Minobu as winter was approaching prompted Kingo to send him so many items. Nichiren confirms that the goods have arrived safely and warmly thanks Kingo for his generosity, adding that the foodstuffs are particularly welcome. Here we can sense the deep heart-to-heart exchange between them as mentor and disciple. They're talking as brothers. Having received news of the latest developments in Kingo's situation, Nichiren offers him pertinent advice on daily conduct. He also praises Kingo for his victory achieved through faith, saying, "Is it not your Lord's regard for you due to the aid of the Lotus Sutra?" At the same time, concerned that Kingo would become the target of increasing envy and be placed in even greater danger, Nichiren warns him on page 164 to be extremely careful and avoid rash or indiscreet behavior. Dressing too well, being too full of himself. He also teaches him that maintaining personal integrity and realizing victory are crucial in opening the way forward in the difficult, challenging situation he faces. This letter shines throughout with profound passages that have given encouragement and sustenance to countless members. And more valuable than treasures in a storehouse. This is 3 quotes from the Gosho. A couple quotes. More valuable than treasures in a storehouse are the treasures of the body, and the treasures of the heart are the most valuable of all. And the purpose of the appearance in this world of Shakyamuni Buddha, the Lord of Teachings, lies in his behavior as a human being. And there are 3. The wise may be called human, but the thoughtless are no more than animals. The Daishonin explains to his embattled disciple that the key to breaking through adversity ultimately lies in wise action and one's own humanity. This applies not only to Shijo Kingo. Our actions as well reflect our faith and determine victory or defeat in our Buddhist practice. Each passage in this writing is imbued with Nichiren's profound compassion to encourage each follower as his first priority. As a Buddhist, no action is more exalted than that of raising other human beings fostering capable people, fostering people that can become mentors. Founding Soka Gakkai President Tanesaburo Makaguchi once encouraged a youthful educator. Hailing from a rural area in Japan, I love this, a young man was embarrassed by his accent and thus found it difficult to voice his opinions in front of others. Mr. Makaguchi told him, even if your pronunciation is poor or if you have an accent, it is important for you to be yourself and do your best. Every person is endowed with wonderful potential. Go ahead and volunteer to make a presentation. This will benefit you. At the same time, your giving a presentation will also benefit the others and, by extension, contribute to the growth of the children in their charge. Thus, your action will result in good. Soka education. I'm sorry, it's coming again. Soka education means doing our utmost to create value that constitutes good and benefit. Be yourself and do your best. This tenet of this is President Kate again, pardon me. As I said, I've been crying for 4 days. Be yourself and do your best. This tenet of humanistic education is consistent with the humanistic principles of Buddhism, because humanistic behavior on the part of a genuine Buddhist practitioner leads to the creation of the highest possible value. Helping people develop their humanity by developing your own is the hallmark of Buddhism. I have always believed that Nichiren's key message to Shijo Kingo in this letter is that the correct path of Buddhist practice lies in continuing efforts. In continuing efforts. So it doesn't matter if you're not there now. It doesn't matter if you're not there tomorrow, next week, next month, next year. Each and every day until the last day of your life, you work on developing this level of humanity.
Yes.
All right? The correct path of Buddhist practice lies in continuing efforts. That's why I've read this so many times that it's made me cry for 4 days. Continuing efforts to improve one's character and develop one's humanity. In other words, it lies in continually striving to undergo one's human revolution. Human revolution is a process that's never ending. It's not an arrival space.
Right.
You become the Buddha in your present form, but your development doesn't stop because you've done that. The wise always have appreciation for their benefactors. What's a benefactor? Important people around you that somehow give you an assist even though they have no direct real association with you. It could be a teacher. It could be a boss. Okay? It could be somebody that you don't know that likes you as a friend. It could be someone that's older and wiser. It could be anything. A benefactor is someone who has brought fortune into your life by their influence, whatever that influence was. No matter how minor, no matter how major. All right? The wise always have appreciation for the benefactors. From the Gosho, I am most grieved over your Lord's illness, although it is not professed, he has not professed faith in the Lotus Sutra. You are a member of his clan. It is thanks to his consideration that you are able to make offerings to the Lotus Sutra. Thus, these may become prayers solely for your Lord's recovery. Think of a small tree under a large one, or grass by a great river. Though they do not receive rain or water directly, they nonetheless thrive, partaking of dew from the large tree or drawing moisture from the river. The same holds true with the relationship between you and your Lord. To give another example, King Ajatasattu was an enemy of the Buddha, but because Jivaka, a minister of the king's court, believed in the Buddha and continually made offerings to him, the blessings accruing from his actions are said to have returned to Ajatasattu. Pardon me. Having followed in the footsteps of his father, Having followed in the footsteps of his father, Shijo Kingo was a second-generation samurai, retainer of the Emma family, which was directly related to one of the Hojo regents who ruled the Kamakura military government. Both father and son had been loyal to the Emma family in times of grave peril. It is therefore not difficult to imagine that his lord would have placed deep trust in Kingo. The latter only incurred his lord's disfavor after he tried to convert him to Nichiren Daishonin's teachings. Subjected to unjustified harassment and disciplinary action, including transfer to another estate in a remote province, Kingo, it appears, even considered suing Emma. Nichiren, however, urges him to exercise restraint, writing in another letter from the same period, "As vassals, you and your parents and your close relatives are deeply indebted to your lord," from the Eight Winds, and even if he never shows you the slightest further consideration, you should not hold a grudge against your lord. Ingratitude ranks among the very worst kind of human conduct, as it incurs evil karma. Now that's also a little segue. He's talking about all the people that have abandoned him. President Ikeda, Daisaku Ikeda, the whole number of people that only practice Buddhism. Excuse me for all this, but again, I've been very careful about the message that this hits me with. And that's why I'll take my time. I don't care how late we go tonight. Again, what he's conveying here is it's no different than when I talked about Koshikawa last week. All right? It's the exact same principle. All right? This teaching is where I get that understanding. That's why I'm not pulling it out of my ass when I say the things I say like I did last week without referring to it specifically. Ingratitude ranks among the very worst kind of conduct as it incurs evil. If you want good fortune, always have appreciation for everybody. I mean everybody. The more appreciation you have for others, even your enemies, because what do your enemies do? They make you stronger. They drive you to the Gohanzan. They drive you to read the Gosho. I have warm thoughts about Mark Rogau because of how much I know because of him. Seriously. I give him shit like he is, okay? Because he slanders the correct teaching and he slanders Buddhists thoughtlessly. He's a false, arrogant priest. All right? President Kate is going to talk about that in another page. But again, if you allow separation between you and others, you're doing yourself a disservice. You're taking away your own fortune. That's not smart. All right? Nichiren tells Shijo Kingo that rather than resenting his lord, who is directly bringing pressure to bear on him, he should focus on battling real adversity, namely the workings of the three obstacles and the four devils manifesting in Emma's actions. And that's the basis of that premise. The premise is that fundamental darkness is where all this shit comes from. We can personalize it in the person delivering it to us, but because it's our karma, they're only delivering what is ours. You know? It's not that person. It's not that circumstance. It's always about you. If you always make it about you, you always win. You can always reverse it. You can always make it different. It's when you don't understand it and you blame outwardly. Other things outwardly. Why did this happen? It's because of this. It's because of this. No, it's never because of anything with your finger pointed that way. It's always you. Okay? That's why you can always win. That's the teaching. Nichiren tells Shijo Kingo, rather than resenting his lord, who is directly bringing pressure to bear on him, he should focus on battling the real adversity, namely the workings of the three obstacles and the four devils, which are manifesting because of your faith and your advance toward Buddhahood. You're the one bringing this shit on. Far more deserving of blame, he points out, is Ryokan, whose villainous schemes were largely behind the persecution of the Daishonin's followers and the false assumptions made by Kingo's lord. He declares that Ryokan is the epitome of the group known as false, arrogant sages, one of the three powerful enemies of Buddhism. It is an admonition to recognize the true nature of such negative and obstructive forces. So he's encouraging you to have the wisdom when you're in front of the Gohanzan. Try to find the real source. Try to bring that forth from you. You're not blaming other people. You're not blaming circumstances that have occurred in your life. That's bullshit. It's not going to get you anywhere, and you have to clear that before you can win. Following Nichiren's guidance, Kingo conducted himself with wisdom, continuing on the top of page 166, and utmost sincerity in his daily life and interactions with others. As a result, when illness struck, Emma sought treatment from Shijo Kingo, who was renowned as an excellent physician. Learning that Emma was unwell, Nichiren writes, "I am most grieved over your Lord's illness." Even though on the surface Emma was the very person inflicting suffering on Shijo Kingo, a sincere Lotus Sutra practitioner, Nichiren was deeply concerned about his illness. Regarding truth or error in terms of the law or teaching, Nichiren Buddhism maintains a rigorous attitude. But when it comes to people's sufferings, it always has a spirit of tolerance and compassion. Okay? Because what is he used as the example from the sutra? Ajatasattu. Ajatasattu had an affair with his mother, killed his father, supported Devadatta. And yet the Lotus Sutra says he's going to attain Buddhahood, just like Devadatta. As much as Devadatta did to try and hurt the Shakyamuni. What does Shakyamuni say in the Lotus Sutra about Devadatta in chapter 10? Or chapter 12, I believe, whatever. He's going to attain Buddhahood. So we should never look at other people with hatred outwardly toward them. Okay? We should look with enmity at the source. Have the wisdom to understand this is the devil of the sixth heaven. This is fundamental darkness. This is part of the deal. He says, the essence of Buddhism is found in a heartfelt wish for the happiness of each person. Of each person. At heart, he was indignant over... Okay, let me go. I don't know where I'm at. Regarding truth or error in terms of the law or teaching, Nichiren Buddhism maintains a rigorous attitude. But when it comes to people suffering, it always has a spirit of tolerance and compassion. Nichiren would do whatever he could to help those suffering, even if they were people who slandered the law. Thinking of their plight, he exclaimed, "How tragic, how pitiful," from the selection of time. At heart, he was indignant over human suffering. The essence of Buddhism is found in the heartfelt wish for the happiness of each person, regardless of who they are. My mentor, second Soka Gakkai President Josei Toda, shared the same spirit as the Daishonin. If people discarded their faith, he was filled with deep sorrow. "How tragic this is," he once exclaimed. "It hurts as though a gimlet is boring into my heart." The Soka Gakkai has realized brilliant and unprecedented development because it has inherited this noble spirit to go out among the people and take action for their happiness. In this writing, Nichiren points out that Emma, while not a Lotus Sutra practitioner himself, makes it possible for Shijo Kingo to give offerings to the sutra. Therefore, he says, the merit and good fortune Kingo acquires will also extend to Emma. Nichiren cites the example of a small tree beneath a large tree or grass on the banks of a great river. Though the small tree or the grass may not receive rain or water from the river directly, it will still thrive on the dew. He also notes that in Shakyamuni's day, a king named Ajatasattu was a great enemy of Buddhism, but he was ultimately protected because his physician Jivaka was a devoted follower of the Buddha. Remember, he broke out in a bunch of sores he couldn't get rid of. Only listening to Shakyamuni got rid of him. That's when he became a believer at the very end. In a family, too, and this is important for all of you to know, because I know not all of your family members practice what we practice. In a family, too, if one person radiates the brilliance of the mystic law, then all family members, including those who do not practice Nichiren Buddhism, will be protected. Individuals can similarly illuminate their workplaces and their communities. That is how vast and immeasurable the benefit of the mystic law is. Accordingly, from the standpoint of our Buddhist practice, it is important that we ourselves, so that means that's not just me, Tom, talking, because I took on talking, It's each and every one of you as well. Everybody that's listening out there on the video, it is important that we ourselves, irrespective of what others may do, so this isn't based on how they behave towards you or what they're doing, become like the large tree or the great river in this analogy. We have to become Buddhists, because in doing that, we will affect everything else around us. It won't be just us that becomes Buddhists as a result of us becoming Buddhists. No Buddha attains Buddhahood without other Buddhas happening as a result. All right? The Buddha nature itself from within, Buddha nature manifesting itself from within and bringing forth protection from without on page 167. Buddhism teaches that when the Buddha nature manifests itself from within, this is from the Gosho, it will receive protection from without. This is one of its fundamental principles. The Lotus Sutra says, I have profound reverence for you. The Nirvana Sutra states, all living beings alike possess the Buddha nature. Bodhisattva Ashvaghosha's Awakening of Faith in the Mahayana says, because the true abiding law invariably permeates one's life and exerts its influence, illusions are instantly extinguished and the Dharma body manifests itself. Bodhisattva Maitreya's treatise on the three stages of yoga practice contains a similar statement. What is hidden turns into manifest virtue. That was from the Gosho from page 848. The lecture continues. Nichiren Daishonin explained a key Buddhist principle. The Buddha nature manifesting itself from within and bringing forth protection from without. In other words, when we activate the Buddha nature within us, it will cause the protective functions of life to work externally. And I got a bunch of stars here, so this next paragraph is very important. We possess this Buddha nature, and it is up to us to awaken to and manifest it. So what did that say? We possess it, but it is up to us to what? Awaken, but awaken to realize that we're the Buddha. As long as you don't think you're the Buddha, you're not doing that. Mm-hmm. Okay? If you're not living this according to how Daisaku Ikeda is suggesting it, you're not going to get there. Mm. This is trying to be the Buddha. This is hard shit. Okay? This isn't normal. This isn't natural behavior, this kind of dignity and humanity. Mm. Look around you. Where is it? How many people have it? Okay? So again, let me say it again. We possess this Buddha nature. Now, all of us can accept that as happy talk, or we can take it to the deeper level. Mm. And by having faith in the teaching, saying, okay, that is the case. I am the Buddha. So that's when you awaken to, when that's a real awakening. Mm. When that, okay, then I am the Buddha is not happy talk either. That's when you can never go back again. You're always the Buddha from that point on. Okay? We possess this Buddha nature, and it is up to us. Not up to the SGI, not up to Daisaku Ikeda, not up to even the Gohonzon. It's up to us because we're the ones that get our ass in front of the Gohonzon with correct thought that brings this forth. Okay? To awaken to and manifest it by practicing Nichiren Buddhism, the mystic law comes to permeate one's life. What does that mean? What's permeate your life? Completely inundate everything. Your whole life becomes subsumed in the mystic law. You are the Buddha in your present form. By practicing Nichiren Buddhism, the mystic law comes to permeate one's life and exert its influence. That is, our Buddha nature, once revealed. Now, what's he mean by once revealed? That's the awakened to. That's the awakened to, because it isn't revealed in actuality until you've awakened to the fact that it's real, that it's not happy talk. That's who I am. All right? That is, our Buddha nature, once revealed, pervades our lives in the same way that burning incense imbues our clothing with its fragrance. Is that cool or not? That's a great analogy. Imbues its fragrance with, like incense does to our clothing with its fragrance. Our Buddha nature emerges like a fragrance wafting in the breeze. And while we speak of receiving protection from heavenly deities, the positive forces of the universe, the first step in that process is to embark on our own inner transformation. Once we realize we're the Buddha, then we've got to start striving to behave like the Buddha. Okay? We've got to take these, admonitions personally. We're not reading a Gosho. The Gosho is written to us. Okay? It's a personal teacher from our original mentor, being qualified by another mentor, who was qualified to him by another mentor. We're working on becoming a mentor to be a mentor to others, who will become mentors. That's the only way Kosen Rufu can occur. So unless you think Kosen Rufu's happy talk, I don't. You have to take this to heart. And while we speak of receiving protection of the heavenly deities, this way saying it's not God's up there that is doing this. It's your behavior that creates this. He's saying that without just, going against the words, because it's not 12th century Japan anymore, guys. All right? Do you understand what I just said? I'm going to say it again anyhow. I don't care. Our Buddha nature emerges like a fragrance wafting in the breeze. And while we speak of receiving protection from the heavenly deities, the positive forces of the universe, the first step in that process is to embark on our own inner transformation. In how those initially aspiring to the way can attain Buddhahood through the Lotus Sutra, Nichiren writes, middle of page 167, when we revere Myoho Renge-kyo inherent in our life as the object of devotion. So what is that? That's the Nam-myoho Renge-kyo, thus come one, that's our original state. That's the Gohonzon that exists in our life. That's what's activated by the external Gohonzon in the Butsudan when we chant Daimoku from that life state that exists in our life. We have to bring it forth. It's not happy talk. When we revere Myoho Renge-kyo as Buddhas, when we revere Myoho Renge-kyo in our own life as the object of devotion, okay, as the object of devotion, we understand that it's the inner Gohonzon that's the real object of devotion. All right? The Buddha nature within us is summoned forth. It really comes out. It's real. And it's manifested by our chanting of Nam-myoho Renge-kyo. Nam-myoho Renge-kyo to the Gohonzon. This is what is meant by Buddha, because that's attaining Buddhahood in your present form. To illustrate, when a caged bird sings, birds who are flying in the sky are thereby summoned and gather around. And when the birds flying in the sky gather around, the bird in the cage strives to get out. When with our mouths we chant the mystic law, our Buddha nature being summoned will invariably emerge. The Buddha nature of Brahma and Shakra being called will protect us, and the Buddha nature of the Buddhas and the Bodhisattvas being summoned will rejoice. And our karma will reflect our true identity. I added that. And our karma will reflect our true identity. Chanting Nam-myoho Renge-kyo to the Gohonzon, the object of devotion in Nichiren Buddhism, is in fact the same as summoning forth and praising the Buddha nature inherent in our own lives and residing in all things. That Buddha nature coexists with everything else. There's nothing separated from it. In the universe is what the next page continues. Chanting Nam-myoho Renge-kyo to the Gohonzon, the object of devotion in Nichiren Buddhism, is in fact the same as summoning forth and praising the Buddha nature inherent in our own lives and residing in all things in the universe. So when I say everything else, I'm not just talking about everything else in our immediate environment or even on Earth. I'm talking about in the entire fucking realm of existence. Did I just say the F word?
Yes.
I think I did. I'm so sorry for that. I'm so sorry for that. Paise. In response to the sound of our chanting, though we reveal our Buddha nature, all benevolent forces throughout the universe move into action to protect us. This principle succinctly expresses the unique character of Nichiren Buddhism, which is completely different from faith that pins hope for salvation on some external power. because this is what unleashes the only real power, which is you. The concept of the Buddha nature manifesting itself from within indicates a power existing and generated from inside us. Buddhism is known as the inner way. Therefore, we do not seek Buddhahood or the life of the Buddha outside ourselves, or salvation from our problems from something outside of us. It's us that is going to make that change through our sincere daimoku. The life state of the Buddha, characterized by the Four Noble Virtues, eternity, happiness, true self, and purity, which, by the way, I guess includes cursing, excuse me, is found within our own mortal being. And I'm a mortal being, so sorry I screwed up and said the F word. Is found within our own mortal being that also experiences the delusions of earthly desires and the sufferings of birth and death. So this includes all the 9 world stuff, like me slipping there. That doesn't, discredit me, frankly, for those people that want to get all weird. All right? Nichiren Buddhism enables us to awaken and manifest the benefit of Buddhahood in our lives, and that's what I focus on. In other words, because we all possess the Buddha nature, when we chant Nam-myoho Renge-kyo with a clearly focused mind, what's a clearly focused mind? I will never disgrace the Gohans, and I will uphold the vow to the last moment of my life. My true identity is that of a bodhisattva of the earth. I am a thus come one. When we chant Nam-myoho Renge-kyo with a clearly focused mind, the life of the Buddha that exists within you already is summoned forth from within and emerges. And you are! Manifesting our inner Buddhahood causes protection to arise from without. All this hinges on our inner focus or resolve. What's he talking about again? Activated. We are the only ones that can understand that we are what this all is all talking about. This isn't something from a greater thing to a lesser thing. This is a mentor to disciple process, which are exactly equal since time without beginning. In light of the principle of the Buddha nature manifesting itself from within and bringing forth protection from without, we can definitely change any situation or environment by transforming our fundamental mindset and revealing our Buddha nature. When we do that, this is the truth. All fears vanish the moment we fully believe that I alone write the script of the drama of my life. Next, Nichiren continues. What is hidden turns into manifest virtue. Unseen virtue turns into conspicuous reward. To practice the mystic law is to proceed along the path to victory. All virtue will manifest in visible form without failure, without fail. Now again, that's President Keita's promise in this Gosho, in this lecture, and that's my promise. That's what I've experienced in my entire practice, and that's what the Daishonin says. That's where I got it from. All virtue will manifest in visible form without fail. When we forge ahead with this deep, unshakable conviction, okay? And that's the difference between people that get lots of benefits and people that don't. All right? When the people that get lots of benefits, they bring this out of themselves. They forge ahead with this deep, unshakable conviction. And when they do that, their future opens up in a wonderful way that they could never have imagined. I changed the context for the way I was saying it, but that's what he's saying there. When we forge ahead with this deep, unshakable conviction, our future will open up in wonderful ways we could never have imagined. This is the conviction and declaration of Nichiren Daishonin, the Buddha of the latter day of the law. And that's why you can take it to the bank. And that's why every one of us has the ability to manifest it. That's guaranteed. As a matter of fact, SGI members around the world are constructing such confident states of life. They are the models of respectful humanistic conduct towards others. The Lotus Sutra spirit of respect and reverence for all people is deeply ingrained in the lives of SGI members, hopefully. When someone is in trouble, we cannot simply look the other way. When someone appears to be struggling, we cannot help offering encouragement. When someone is suffering, we cannot help embracing them. Believing in the potential of all people, we actively pursue positive and meaningful interactions, regardless of what other religion they are, regardless of what other circumstances. We don't just help people that chant. We help anybody that needs help. Right? Yes. I mean, if you're only nice to the people that you like or that you think deserve your help, you're really not living this in the way that he's describing it should be lived here. And let me read that again, because this is Daisaku Ikeda. One of the things that Mark tried staining us with was this interfaith dialogue thing, like, whoa! Because Nichiren Shoshu says that. Who gives a shit? That's the whole point. I mean, what's the difference between Hinayana and Mahayana Buddhism?
One weak cave, one itself.
A change in perspective that manifested a whole new, absolutely correct. The proof of actual fact proved Mahayana is correct. Okay? What's happening now? We're 700 years after the advent of Nichiren Daishonin in 12th century, 13th century Japan. Okay? So the fact that the Buddhism of the Sun is arising right now with clarifications that make it uniform and applicable to this time is nothing that hasn't occurred throughout the history of Buddhism. Don't forget when Tentai said everything Tentai said. Everybody's going, where are you getting this shit from, man? Okay? This is a fact. All the great teachers were attacked. All the great teachers were resisted. What we're doing right now is absolutely what we're supposed to be doing. And the reason we can know that is because what he's saying here is absolutely true. And we can manifest that truth in our lives, not just what we read from him. That's the point. And so he says, when someone is in trouble, we cannot simply look the other way. When someone appears to be struggling, we cannot help offering encouragement. When someone is suffering, we cannot help embracing them. Believing in the potential of all people, we see the Buddha nature in everybody. We actively pursue positive and meaningful interactions. SGI members' actions are the very embodiment of respect for others. This in itself is proof of their having deeply cultivated the life state of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. There is no greater benefit. The fragrant breeze of happiness boundlessly caresses their being. SGI members are truly heroes of the world. They are great champions of life. Continuing on page 169. And I'm almost there, believe it or not. Never be defeated by lies and defamation. Mark. The heavenly devil knew about this from before, and he therefore possessed your colleagues. And you're possessed, Mark. You are sadly possessed. I feel badly for you. The heavenly devil knew about this from before, and he therefore possessed your colleagues, causing them to invent your preposterous lie in order to prevent you from making offerings to the Lotus Sutra. Since your faith is profound, however, the 10 demon daughters must have come to your aid and caused your Lord's illness. He does not regard you as his enemy, but since he once acted against you by giving credit to false accusations of your colleagues, he has become seriously ill, and the malady persists. Devilish forces always spin lies. And again, it's going to sound like I'm not having any mercy for Mark Rogow now, but I know, because I know, first of all, everything I'm saying Mark will never hear because he doesn't really watch the videos. He just jumps in to put his own boilerplate on there. And what he cut and pasted for us last week and the week before are things that he's cut and pasted a dozen other places, and I know from watching him constantly. By the way, Mark, I know about the other sites you're looking at and where you came up with your crazy theory that's yours alone. Devilish forces always spin lies. In this passage, Nichiren Daishonin indicates that devils invariably resort to fabrications and false accusations to discredit people. And I've had my fair share of this myself, so I know it firsthand. The Chinese writer Lu Xun keenly observed, there is also a weapon that kills without drawing blood. False rumors. To spread scurrilous lies and rumors, that is the essential character of devilish functions. Nichiren says that the Tatsunokuchi persecution, the culminating persecution that nearly saw him beheaded, was due to endless slanders. Slander means a twisting of the facts to malign another person. Devilish functions constantly employ such means to persuade the powerful to bring down people of integrity and justice. This happens in politics. This happens in every element of life. This is the insidious, manipulative working of the devil king. Those who fall into the category of arrogant false sages, the most fearful of the three powerful enemies, also employ false accusations and misinformation to incite the ruling authorities to persecute the votary of the Lotus Sutra. In contrast to those who qualify as arrogant lay people or arrogant priests, mark, the other two powerful enemies, arrogant false sages never personally come out into the open. They do not directly strike any blows. This is the true nature of the devil king of the sixth heaven. In view of this principle, Nichiren asserts that such devilish functions are behind Shijo Kingo's present circumstances. In short, the devil king has influenced people connected to the Emma family, causing them to lie so that Kingo will come under fire. All right? Silently, imperceptibly, devilish functions wreak havoc and destruction in people's hearts. Having the wisdom to discern the true nature of such functions reduces them in power by half. Courage, which equates to the power of faith, is what ultimately defeats devilish functions, because they can't get to you. Based on the principle of the Buddha nature manifesting itself from within and bringing forth protection from without, Nichiren explains that because Shijo Kingo has manifested his inherent Buddha nature, because he has demonstrated strong faith, the 10 demon daughters moved into action, causing Emma to fall ill. As I have touched on already, this development provided Kingo with an opportunity to break through his painful situation. How the protective functions of the universe manifest, this is very important for you to accept as a reality. How the protective functions of the universe manifest will differ widely depending on the particular circumstances, because you can't see tomorrow and you can't see next week, and you can't see when something that seems like something was bad actually is leading you to an opportunity for something of great good that you would have never gone there had you not been facing and dealing with what was bad. In Kingo's case, at the top of 170, and I'm almost done, in Kingo's case, protection appeared in the form of Emma falling ill. The result, Nichiren surmises, of Emma himself succumbing for a time to the deception of devilish forces. But because this event led Emma to regain his trust in Kingo, he too, in keeping with the above principles, shared in the benefit of the Lotus Sutra. This clearly seems the result of Emma's own good fortune. In the next passage, because he eventually chanted Daimoku, okay, to the end of his life. So what was Lord Emma? Unbeknownst to everybody, he's a bodhisattva of the earth. He was an original disciple of the original teacher that he had slandered, just like Devadatta had slandered Shakyamuni. It's the exact same thing. All right? In the next passage, the Daishonin clarifies how, in contrast, those directly instigating these devilish workings in others would receive unmistakable retribution in their present existence. Justice is proven by realizing victory, middle of page 170. Ryozuba, whom these people count on as their pillar of strength, has already been toppled, and those who spoke falsely of you have contracted the same disease as your Lord. Because Ryokan is guilty of a much graver offense, it is more than likely he will meet with or cause a bad accident. Surely he will not escape unharmed. Wrongdoers never prosper. Good will always win out over evil in accord with the inexorable causal workings of the mystic law. Ryozuba, who was venerated by many of the Ryozuba, who was venerated by many of those ill-disposed towards Shijo Kingo, had already fallen ill in the epidemic, as had many other samurai who had slandered Shijo Kingo. Further, Nichiren says that Ryokan, who had engaged in base and evil machinations, was guilty of a much graver offense and would surely not escape unharmed. If the Daishonin had not appeared, Ryokan would have continued to be revered by the public as a living Buddha. this his truly ugly nature forever hidden from view. Humiliated by losing to Nichiren in a contest to pray for rain, Ryokan cunningly ingratiated himself even more with various influential figures and plotted to bring persecution down on Nichiren. Even after Nichiren moved to Mount Minobu, the vain and self-serving Ryokan no doubt lived in constant fear of being exposed as a fraud, terrified of the noble and dignified forces of the Buddha. Whatever his outward bravado, he was surely trembling inside. The more he allowed himself to be ruled by negative impulses, the more conspicuous he would have been in the depths of his heart of his own wretchedness. The French writer and poet Charles Piguet declared, "The triumph of demagogues is fleeting, but the ruin is eternal." Instigators of lies and false assertions end up leading lives of eternal regret and spiritual defeat. Around this same time, in addition to Shijo Kingo's triumph, the Ikegami brothers, who we just read about in the last Gosho, two other key followers of Nichiren's facing persecution for their beliefs, were also victorious. For Ryokan, who was intent on fomenting intrigues to oppress Nichiren's followers, top of page 171, there were certainly major attacks. Ryokan's malicious schemes, because don't forget, Atsuhara is coming after this. Ryokan's malicious schemes utterly failed, Nichiren's disciples dealing a powerful blow, as it were, to the corrupt power. Though evils may be numerous, they cannot prevail over a single great truth. Come from many in body, one in mind. It all comes down to one great truth or good. When mentor and disciple unite, devilish functions can definitely be defeated. When this victory is secured, a new page opens. It is no exaggeration to say that the drama enacted by Shijo Kingo is a brilliant testament to his having won because of his upright humanistic behavior. In other words, the forces of the Buddha vanquishing all devilish forces. The times today also call for humanism. Humanistic action will no doubt become increasingly important in the future. That's why I'm so taken by this, and we should all really take it to heart. In closing, Mr. Toda once said, "You can talk about sincerity and integrity all you want, but unless your actions match your words, it's pointless." Our actions are what matter. The world is now waiting and yearning for the humanistic behavior that SGI members exemplify. Think about the chaos that's going on everywhere right now. The stage for our endeavors is now opening ever wider before us as we move toward an age of the people. And I love this. An age of the people, of women, of youth, of children, of peace, of culture, of education, of humanity, and of life. The 21st century has only just begun. The time has come when the radiant light of our humanity, our humanistic behavior, will shine with ever greater brilliance. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh.